Hey YouTube, I just did some electrical wiring on the Bourbon and I'm going to show what I've done. The main thing I did is I wired it for 120 with the power inverter. So I'm just going to bring these strings of Christmas lights up just to show how it all works. I'm not trying to do a load test on the inverter or anything, I just want to show that the electrical wiring itself works. The string probably only uses about 10 watts. I'm just going to check and make sure that works before I head out. And it works. So when I test out the inverter, these guys should come on. This is a Suburban, 1992 GMC Suburban K1500, four-wheel drive. I do some yard work for a couple local businesses, so I've got yard stuff here. So anyway, what I've done is I have my 1000 watt Xantrex inverter. Then I have that hooked up with 2-gauge cables to my 75 amp hour deep cycle AGM battery. And then I'll show some of the 12 volt wiring I've done too. I also just have a little fuse block right here. I only have 2 circuits coming off of it right now because I wired a couple other things to the battery as well. So anyway, I'm going to turn on the inverter. Until I pick up a disconnect switch, I got to stick the fuse in to get it to turn on. And it's on. Gonna roll up my windows. You can see it's actually pretty roomy in here. I only paid $875 for this. It's got a brand new transmission. Came with a brand new transmission, brand new exhaust. Turn that off. New fuel tank, new radiator, new alternator. Come on. It's got a few cosmetic issues and a couple electrical issues that I've been working on. Trying to get the gremlins out of it. Crawl up in here. It's got, for example, the speedometer bounces around sometimes, so I've got to check that wiring. But anyway, so it's pretty roomy in here. The eventual goal is to be able to camp in here. And I let a bug in. So anyway, I haven't wired these up, and they're kind of hard to see, but I have dual 12 volt, come on focus, dual 12 volt sockets mounted on either side of the console up front here. Those will be hooked up to the deep cycle battery. The only socket I'm going to leave on the starting battery is the stock socket up in front. All the other sockets that I add will be connected to the deep cycle. And I also have a dual alternator setup that I'm going to stick in here eventually, so that I can have one alternator charge the starter battery and one alternator will charge the deep cycle and back. So anyway, like I said, the inverter should be powered up right now. Now what I did is I just picked up some cheap residential, low commercial grade outlets at our local home improvement store, and man, I let a lot of bugs in. So I have 3 outlets. One is right there. You can see it's kind of mounted just in front of the 3rd row seat. The one is just on the opposite side. And then, kind of hard to see, but underneath the steering column, it's another outlet. I just use old extension cords I do a big Christmas light display every year, and the bunnies, or the rabbits, always eat up extension cords, so I've got plenty of old extension cord bits lying around, and I was able to get enough to wire up the outlets. I like the extension cords because it's a multi-strand wire instead of single-strand wire. And with the vibrations of driving around and stuff, I wanted to keep everything at multi-strand. So anyway, the inverter's in back. The power cord just plugs right into the inverter then, and it wires up to this outlet. And it comes across below that piece of trim right there. You can kind of see it coming back up. Goes to that one, and it also comes from that one, and that actually runs underneath the truck, and I have it all wrapped up and everything to protect it from the elements, and that runs up to the front up there. So all three of these outlets should have power right now. It's really hard with the sunlight earlier. It was really hard to tell if the inverter was actually on or not. So there's one way to find out, and I'm just going to plug it in, and there you go. 120 volt AC power in the Bourbon. I don't know why they're flickering on the camera. That's just the camera doing that. That's not the actual lights. They're not flickering at all. For some reason the camera is getting tricked. I don't know why. It's actually kind of weird on the camera. But they are solidly on in real life. I have no clue. I've never seen that before. So anyway, you can see that all the outlets work. Whoops. Helps if I don't drop it. Plug it in there. You can see once again they're on. Again, I have no clue why they're blinking on camera. That's going to be bugging me now. So as you can see, I have full 120 volts in back here. And I have this short extension cord. I figured I'd just leave it in here if I ever need it. And that hedge clippers in back actually will run off the inverter too, last time I checked. And one last one. Oh, I'll try to stretch over here. This one should still have power. Yep. So once again, you can see I have power. So not counting the spare plug in the inverter, each one of these outlets has 2 plugs in it, so I've got a total of 6 plugs, not counting the spare one in the back. Now the other thing I did, and this is the wiring that I finished, I wired just a cheap light into the deep cycle, and I also wired just a cigarette lighter plug into the deep cycle battery. Again, the eventual goal is to be able to sleep in this thing, camp in it if you will, for any reason, whether we're camping or just going on a long trip or whatever. I've got other plans in the works, so you can see the light works. It's actually really bright. I've tried it at night, and for an incandescent light, this thing is insanely bright. And it uses less than an amp, so even though it's incandescent, it really isn't too bad. And then the other one, you can see the lights on. That's just for my little 12-volt fridge. Works no problem. I've tried it, it cools down. So, there you go. Again, it's a 1992 GMC Suburban. I've still got to clean it up some, like I said, fix a couple things, but overall, works fairly well. So, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, feel free to comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.